All right, folks. So here we are. We are constructing the actual bases of the countertops from scratch. 3/4 inch MDF board, some wood glue. As you can see, I'm building out the edges. We cut about 3-4 inch strips, go all the way around the perimeter of the countertop. This gives it the look that the countertops are actually 1.5 inches all the way through, but you're really just wrapping the perimeter and putting some cross struts in there for stability. If you have any seams, you'll obviously want to put these in there as well. So this is where it started. Wish I would have taped a lot more of this process, but I didn't, unfortunately, so I apologize for that. But yeah, this is where we started. So we have our countertops now mounted and in place, the MDF board, and I have painted or primed and painted 2 coats. One with a bonding primer, colors white, and that's going to be my base coat for my countertops. So you always want your base coat to be your primary color in your countertops, whether it be a black, white, or whatever color. All right, folks. It's epoxy day. So we move in 2 weeks and putting the finishing touches on the house. So I'm here with Brittany and my mom today, and we're gonna pour some countertops. We got about 65 square feet of countertop space. So with epoxy, you want 3 fluid ounces per square foot for epoxy. So for here, about 70 square feet, we need about 210 ounces. Not by weight, but volume. Color-wise, we're still going back and forth. Haven't made up my mind completely. But we're kind of leaning towards a gold type accent with some gray. The countertops are made from MDF, 3/4 inch medium density fiberboard. And we built them up to be 1.5 inches thick, and we are also doing the rock edge on all the sides here. Can't see them now, but you'll see them once we pull the tape dam off. So we got MDF board, put that together, sanded it down. We put 2 coats of primer on it, white primer as our base color. Base colors are usually black or white, depending on what kind of color you're going for on the top. And so you've got all the cabinets plastic off. Got our tape dam up to start. And we got our drywall all taped off on the back. Some green epoxy on that. Epoxy generally, if you do get it on cabinets or walls, you can peel it off very carefully. The longer you let it sit, the harder it is to get off. So we usually got about 45 minutes of working time with the epoxy that we're using, the stone coat countertops. Then we got our colors here. So for our base, we're going with the fine gold glitter and diamond dust metallic. So that'll be our base. Some of our veins, we're going with the blue, and then a blue glow powder, which is going to be glow in the dark, and it'll be blue when it glows in the dark. Then we'll do that, and we'll probably add some fracture characteristics to it with the isopropyl alcohol and titanium. I believe it's just titanium resin powder mixed in. And then we'll probably add little hints too of some glitter blast spray paint, golden glow, some glitter. Brittany loves glitter, so we'll give her some shiny things to look at. Got our torch here. We got all our gloves, our trowel. Make sure you have an 1/8 inch notch trowel. When you're spreading the epoxy, that's a good depth for it. when you spread it around. And so yeah, we got everything that we need here to get started, and let's go do this. Good luck. So part A is the resin and part B is the hardener. So put equal amounts in there.
Will you help him too?
I guess.
Put the glitter. Each one.
Ooh.
What is that? What is that? Water or is that the epoxy?
So this is the epoxy.
Actually, epoxy.
Two-part
This stuff here?
epoxy. Yep. The A and B.
Hard enough.
I say this a little bit goes a long way.
Where you get this stuff?
Off their website.
Where?
Off their website.
Oh, you can't buy it at a store. Like
Nah.
Lowe's or Home Depot.
Nah, he's actually he's a small business type guy
So
out of
if
Oregon.
you run out, you can't run out to the store and get it.
No. All right, now start mixing. You gotta mix it for about 2 minutes. And pull that out. This is gonna be the white dye. Okay, so once we get our two-part epoxy mixed fully, you want to mix it for 2 to 3 minutes. You also want to make sure your epoxy is somewhere between 65 to 75 degrees temperature-wise. It doesn't do very well in extreme heat or extreme cold, so room temperature is best. You can make your epoxy opaque or translucent. Since my base coat is white, and so is the base of the epoxy. It's not very opaque. It's more of a translucent color. So you begin by pouring straight onto the countertop. To start, you kind of want to stay away from all the edges because the tape dam, it'll hold for a while, but you don't want all your epoxy going to the edges right away. You can see you take the 1/8 inch trowel and you'll trowel it all over the surface of the countertop. Um, Depending on the size of your project, you may want a set of extra hands to help you. So here I got my family, my father and mother. And it's a family ordeal helping me out. This is their first time doing anything with epoxy. So like I said, it is a user-friendly material that you can definitely get creative with. So once you get all your epoxy poured out, with the stone coat countertops, epoxy have about an hour's worth of working time to where you can mix, move, add colors, kind of get creative with it. If you use the art coat, the working time is about the same, but I believe they sell a more professional, the platinum coat, that is a lot shorter working time and it sets up a lot quicker. So as you can see, you can glove your hands and you want to spread the epoxy all around. This is to make sure that it mixes thoroughly. When you are mixing it in the bucket, you want to make sure that you are getting the edges and the bottom of your bucket. Because if you do not mix it thoroughly, it will not set up and cure hard. You'll have come back the next day and there'll be sticky spots and you will be very deflated because you'll have to end up coming back and repouring in the entire countertop. So that's a little costly and you just don't want to risk making that mistake. So as you see, we got multiple people here with hands.
I'm pouring out the epoxy. See Brittany there. She's starting to get her hands dirty, but it's fun. It brings out the kid in you when you're doing this, and it's a very user friendly. And you see with the 1/8 inch trowel, this is self leveling epoxy, so it levels itself. Um, but you still want to make sure that you cover every square inch of the countertop. Um, Even though it is self-leveling, there will be lighter spots that aren't as thick, because when the epoxy dries, it dries with about an 1/8 inch thick coat on the countertop. So obviously this is the color coat. After the color coat, you pour your flood coat. So there's two completely different pours that goes into this process.
Let's just make sure everything mixes together. Epoxy doesn't mix together.
Okay, so once you get all the epoxy poured out and troweled onto your countertops, you need to use your gloved hands or a little paintbrush, and with the technique they call it is chopping.
Maybe so nervous.
And you want to go through all surfaces of the countertop and either chop with the paintbrush, as my dad's doing, or you can use your hands like Brittany is. And this is basically just a safety procedure for making sure the epoxy is mixed. If there's an area where there's a little more of the hardener as opposed to the resin itself, you might get some of those sticky spots.
Next step,
So
do
this
that.
kind of just ensures that
Those little
all the
bubbles.
epoxy is mixed, and that there's no spots
Take the
where
torch.
they might not cure
Light 'em
really
up.
soft. So you see, I got the torch
Even
now.
before it's all
What I'm doing is
settled,
going
huh?
So you get the camera
Air
close,
bubbles.
see the bubbles that happen in the epoxy.
Line over there.
Right here.
Yeah.
Probably want
Is
a
that
torch.
normal?
I would say
Yeah,
some
make
people
sure
say
that,
2 times. I like to do it
Okay.
3, 4 times just to be safe. So it does have to be hardened and set up with the bubbles in it. Another issue to address when you come back the next day. You just take the torch and go around and dimples and bubbles. Torch, it'll pop them immediately. So, it's
is the biggest thing. And right here is the biggest thing.
So we are now mixing the epoxy for our colored veins. As you can see, one drop of the dye goes a long way. So one little drop of the blue is more than enough for that amount of epoxy. Obviously, the more you put in there, the darker the blue will be. But we're mixing this up to now pour on top of the white epoxy to create some colored veins and give it some character here. Uh, Same as before, you want to mix 3 to 4 minutes and get all the edges and the bottom to make sure it's all mixed very well for when you pour.
We're doing a fat thing. We looked at a lot of pictures.
Now, yeah, push the oil in there.
Mix up some.
Well, I'm going to Lowe's and get gold.
By the time we get back, it's not
Too late.
So we'll just have to make do.
When you're pouring the colored veins in the epoxy, the longer time you wait before you pour the veins, the less they will spread and thin out. I didn't wait very long at all here, as I kind of wanted that color to spread a little bit and kind of thin out to get a little bit lighter once I apply the heat to it. As you can see, we got the heat gun out. We're going back over to get bubbles back out because they will keep popping up periodically. Um, Using a paint stick to put some smaller veins that are branching off the larger river type veins. So if you wait 30 minutes after you pour, your base coat the white epoxy, and then you come back with your colored veins, they won't spread out as much as you see here and as you'll see at the end product. It's all pretty much of your taste, your preference. You can move this epoxy around with a heat gun. It will kind of warp and move um, to your liking. with the heat gun. Okay, so next step, after we've torched the epoxy 3 times and gotten all the bubbles and indentations and getting it more like a glass finish, as you can see the reflection. It's basically like a glass, very smooth. Um, Finishing up the colored veins here. We're about close to an hour into the process here. And the next step for us is going to be to remove the perimeter of the tape dam around the countertops. We will leave the tape dam where the sink goes and the island there, and also where the cooktop goes. We're going to leave that tape dam up for the entire process. That way, when it's all cured and hard, we'll just remove that tape dam and drop in the sink and the cooktop. But for the edges, to coat the rock edge, we'll remove the tape dam and we'll use our fingers to just lightly coat the edges. But that will be in the next video. So hopefully you guys come on back and watch part 2 of this entire build and get to see the finished product.